How's it going, brother? Welcome to this podcast. It's gonna be my second podcast in my YouTube channel, and purpose of all these interviews is to bring people that have been impactful in my life, or that I know they have something of value to add to others. And this first part of the season, I want to start bringing my mentors, people that I learn from, or make like good connections, and you've definitely been one of those, especially in the
I
last
appreciate that.
mastermind, in the last reunion with JWX in the community of coaches where I met you. We got to see a different face of each other, talk a little bit more deep, and see where both really stand and what we stand for, and that's why I really to want to bring you on. But why don't you go ahead and to introduce people of who you are, what you do,
Yeah.
and what brings you into to these days.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. How deep you want me to get? So, I'll kind of start at the top. So my name is Scott Soltis, officially, formally. Karate Scotty is my brand, my identity, my handle. It's been kind of my who I am for the last, fuck, 38 plus years, man, most of my life. So I'm a personal development coach, at heart. I'm a guy that wants to see people win. I'm a business mentor. I've been through a lot of shit in my life, typical hard upbringing, with a lot of lessons learned along the way. And ultimately, man, I kind of made the decision at one point in my life that no matter what it took, no matter how long it took, my goal and my purpose here was to help people see their own potential, help people win, help people. I have a very unique ability to kind of see that in people, and I can see it very quickly, so I wanted to take that gift and be able to show people like there's a way to do this. There's a way to really live a happy life and be who you want to be, and be authentic about it. So I had, options and opportunities, and here I am, doing this podcast with you. I got to meet a ton of awesome people, man, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon, man. So we'll start there.
That sounds perfect. It's so interesting that people most of the time only see the results, right? Especially in
Hmm.
the us as coaches or mentors that go into the personal development part. But most of the time, what's really lost is the backstory, because I believe that life is a pendulum, and in order for you to really be able to help people go to next levels in their life, change their mindset, and achieve big things, one, you need to go through the process. But two, and I think the most important part is you need to have a hero's journey per se. That first part of your life where you struggle, where you face difficulties, and somehow, some way, we get this goal into get our shit together, start acting properly. We start to see all the benefits of that, and we come to this place where like I gotta start sharing what's happened to me, what has helped me,
Yeah.
and we follow into the process of helping others, and through that we find purpose in life. So why don't you tell me about that specific part for your your hard part, the part where like you were not operating according to what who you are right now, what you stand for, and how you changed that part around. Because I think that's what most people don't see, especially with us in social media, because truly they
Hmm.
can't on a 60-second video see our whole and they just see the
Right.
result. But I think that's what people really need to understand, so they know who we are.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. And this will probably be one of the very few times I've told this so far, and I'm very happy to do it here with you. So my whole life growing up, I typical '80s kid. I did everything. I played sports. I played hockey. I played football. I played baseball. I did martial arts. That's where Karate Scotty came from,
Yeah.
and I excelled at a lot of it. I was really good at it. But it wasn't until obviously later in my life that I realized that it wasn't necessarily what I wanted. I just didn't know it at the time. So as I got older, I think I got a little bit rebellious, and I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I didn't want to listen to people, and I wanted to do things my own way, and I thought I fucking knew everything. And so I was the young kid getting fired all the time because he was like, "No, I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna do it that way," you know. And I was really big into music when I was younger. I played music, I play guitar, I sing, and I love it. Music is probably my first love, you know, that really
Yeah.
like kind of blossomed me into the character that I am a little bit. And I was always a little bit of a character when I was young, but I really kind of found myself through music and found those emotions that I was really looking for. And but unfortunately, those emotions turned into fucking drugs and alcohol and a lot of really bad shit for a really long time.
Yeah.
And you know, I went through plenty of trials and tribulations like most young kids do in their 20s. For me, so the turning point, I'll kind of not super fast forward, but a little bit fast forward. The turning point for me when I really needed to change, man, was, excuse me, I lost my son. And, you know, that was probably the hardest fucking thing I had ever been through. And I've been through a lot of shit. You know,
Yeah.
I've lost plenty of people, murder, suicide, overdose, you fucking name it. I've been through it all. And when I lost my son, something kind of clicked, but not in a good way at first. You know, like it was a very rude awakening to basically find out if I really wanted what I wanted and if I was going to just let myself drive off this cliff or if I was going to fucking pull it together and become who I was supposed to become. You know, that was kind of that turning point for me. Because for about a year and a half after that, I drank as much as I possibly could, Adderall, cocaine, fucking mushrooms, ecstasy, MDMA, all of it, dude. And not a little bit. Like there wasn't a day that went by that I wasn't fucking doing 400 milligrams of Adderall, fucking bunch of cocaine, drinking a ton of fucking whiskey, like being up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I wasn't necessarily trying to kill myself, but I really didn't give a fuck at that point,
Yeah.
you know. And so one day, I had a really bad night on a boat. So we had a boat out on Lake Michigan, and I just had one of those moments where I think everything kind of hit me all at once, you know, and every fucking emotion I'd ever felt all came out. Anger, sadness, bitterness, guilt, like fuck, it just all of it all at once. And and the next morning I woke up and my wife, you know, she's a fucking soldier. You know, I love
Yeah.
you, baby. And she looked at me and she just said, "You're fucking done. Like never again." You know, and that was it. That was all I needed. You know, I had at that point I had my daughter. She was not old yet, but she was getting to be 7, 8 years old almost. And I just needed that change, you know, and I started paying attention to the very few successful people that were around me. And I realized that there was a couple things that they didn't do, right? And like one of the biggest ones was drink.
Yes.
And so it was easier to do that as time went on because I had a little bit of a guidance system, and that was subliminal. I never even like had a mentor, reached out to these guys. I just looked up to them, right? Because
Mhm.
they had what I wanted, and I knew this was the change I needed. So so once I kind of decided I was fucking done, man, I cold turkeyed everything. I spent about a fucking month just in misery and fucking bone aches and chills and fucking sweats and everything you could imagine. And I came to one day and just like you said earlier, dude, it was like this calling, like this moment, and it was like, okay, are you ready now? Like, are you ready to fucking do the thing that you're supposed to do? Are you ready to step into the guy that you have supposed to have been this whole fucking time?
Yeah.
Right? And when that happened, that's when my whole mindset shifted, man. And that's when I was like, okay, I have to be different. I have to be not perfect, but I have to be the man that I messed up being on for so long. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think, and it's so interesting because, to be completely honest, and when we met the first time in that call, I something clicked, and I told you I'm gonna trust you. You said I got you right, and we don't really get to understand God's purpose, life's journey, and how things work, right? But as you say that, and as I get to meet more of the people that are like close to me, I just keep going to that quote that I heard once, right? Of God has this ability to take something broken and turn it into something great for his use, right? And I think that somehow, some way, we all go through these stages where we go into to that point where we get fully broken, and that's where we get awakened, and then we start to recover, and then we end up at service.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can possibly help someone overcome pain, struggles, or limitations if you haven't done it yourself, but specifically in like a major way, right? Because
Yeah.
let's be completely honest. Most people's problems are just procrastination or lack of confidence, stuff like that.
Fear. Yeah.
So I think that the only way to really help people is by us going through that, and we don't really know until years passes that, oh, that was meant to be for a bigger purpose than just myself, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. And it's spot on, and it's funny you say that because you always look at, and I think this is what changed my viewpoint on just people in general too, right? Is when you're coming up and you haven't been broken yet, right? Before you've broken, before you've actually like, because everybody breaks,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't, like, fuck, man, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And I mean that in the most positive way. Like, I feel like everybody needs to be broken at some point, because if you don't, you really don't know who you are. You don't know what you're made of, right? And you can't be honest and genuine with yourself until you've hit the lowest point in your life.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's just no way. So I think when that happens, you know, you almost lose the ability to judge as much, because I see the addict differently now. I see the guy struggling differently, right? I see the guy that's got 4 or 5 kids and he loves his wife and he's just trying everything he fucking can to put food on the table, and like, I see all of it so differently now, right? And that really helped me kind of navigate through all of this and understand that, like, yes, there are moments when people are ready for the push,
Yeah.
and they're ready to overcome that thing, and there's not, right? And I think you also, just like you said too, you have to be broken to recognize that,
Yeah.
right? Like, you have to know, because I think when you've gone through it, it's very easy to tell. Like, I can tell within the first 5 minutes of a conversation with somebody that I just meet what they're kind of going through and whether or not it's been bad. You
Yeah.
know, it's just the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, what they hold back, the way their hands move, just all of that, the eye contact, everything. So I think that being broken allows you this ability to see people for who they truly are, not for just what they're struggling with. Right? Like, because everybody sees that on the outside. Like, oh, that dude's a drug addict. Yeah, but he became a drug addict because something was hurting him really
Yeah.
fucking bad. Right? Because in the beginning, that was the solution to his problem. Right? Like, that was helping.
Yeah.
That wasn't the fucking goal. So, like, obviously something else was there. And, like, the ability to see that when you've been broken is just so much more prevalent than it is if you haven't.
Yeah, it's what they say all the time. Like, people think that the drugs or alcohol or anything are the problem. Those are not the problem. Those are the solutions that the person's using to navigate whatever's really going on inside. And it always comes
Hmm.
down to something lacking, right? It's lack
Yep.
of self-worth, lack of acceptance, or something painful that happened in your life. And I think both of us can be completely honest, and that's why at some point we go into bodybuilding, we go into fitness, we get tattoos, we get all these things because we're building this persona that it's like you
Hmm.
can't fuck with me, like I'm strong,
Hmm.
and it's because of how broken you've been, right? Like I know for myself that that's why I went into fitness and bodybuilding because I was bullied when I was in high school. I was like put down and everything, so like I gotta get strong. So where do you get strong? Where do you get muscles? Because if you have muscles, well, people are gonna think twice before they go, right? uh
Yep.
but I think the tougher you look, the softer you are on the inside, and you know from the
Oh yeah,
community
dude.
of
The
coaches.
nicest,
The
yeah, the
biggest,
nicest
baddest,
guy
more
is
tatted are
usually.
the softest.
Oh yeah. For sure. No, it's yeah, dude, it's true though. Like the nicest dudes are typically, they've been through some shit, man. Like I've never met somebody that's been through a lot of shit that's just an asshole. Well, I shouldn't say never, but for the most part, they're not assholes for no reason.
Yeah.
They're usually typically a lot nicer to people. you know. No, no, it's this whole journey for me has really opened my eyes to like all the things that I wasn't taught, and it's not my parents' fault. They didn't fucking know any better, right? They just didn't know any better, like, and I think a lot of that is because they didn't do the self-healing part, right? Like they didn't go through the part where they decided, okay, what if I take all this shit out? Who am I without all this, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I have none of this and all I have is me, who the fuck am I? And I think a lot of people our age went through that. And so like so my whole goal for what I do is to change that, and not just with younger people, but with men alike, and I think that most men today are unhappy for reasons they fucking have no idea that are the truth, right? Like most men think they're unhappy because they don't have enough money.
Yeah.
Most men think they're unhappy because they don't have the nice truck like their neighbor has. Most men think they're unhappy because they didn't get that fucking raise, and because that's not why they're not happy.
Yeah.
Like they're not happy because they're not fulfilling. They're not doing anything. They have zero. I mean, it's a purpose-driven thing, right? And it's. I truly believe that, and this is again, you only find this when when you break, right? Is all men are only happy when they are serving, helping, creating, building. Like we don't have like I don't need, and I just had this conversation the other day with my wife, right? Like I don't need anything from my wife but for her to be my wife and the mother of my children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need anything else, right? Because if I try to take all of this shit and like do this 50-50 thing, right? And
Yeah.
balance the relationship and all this bullshit. That's not how that works, right? For me to be able to be the best man, husband, father, mentor, coach, anything that I can be, I have to be busy creating, building, and helping other people. That's what fills my cup, right? And when that fills my cup, all I get to take all of that home. And like that's what most men are missing because they're doing something they hate, right? And not only are they doing something they hate, they don't have a hobby, right? Like take the job right off the fucking table, right? Like we can throw that out because I know plenty of guys that are very happy
Yeah.
with the job that they have, right? But it's because they have a hobby, they have something fulfilling them. They're a purpose outside of this, right? And that's what most men are missing because they've never like the wife never left, right? Like
Yeah.
she threatened it forever, but she never actually left, right? They never actually got fired from the job, right? Like not it never really happened. So they just got stuck in this fucking like this is what a man does, and it's like nope, no, you're missing so much, right? And so my job and goal through all that was to try to bring that out of everybody and anybody, man, and it's missing, and I think it's needed.
I think that we have so many intern like social issues going on for multiple reasons, and one is the we live in a new era where a lot of information technology, but we're based on old paradigms, and that's the problem. That's what's creating the crisis for both men and women, right? Regardless of if it's a man or a woman, there is so much level of happiness that you can contain within. The rest has to be on the outside. That's why the
Correct.
happiest people and being at service, right?
Hmm.
And when you're just like going into achieving the goals and the financials and buying the things, it's a me, 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 me. And that's the ego's world, where everything on the
Hmm.
outside validates who I am. And that's something that, thank God, happened to me at the end of the year. And I realized that about this guy that's a mentor from Spain, and he was saying that everybody's so focused on conquering the outside world, the world of the ego. And And the true conquer is conquering the inside world, because how it is inside is going to be outside, right? So
Hmm.
we are raised based on a paradigm that served for a long time, but this is a new reality. And no matter how much you accomplish and what you get, you're always going to feel empty as long as you keep putting your happiness in the goal and in a different timeline than where you are right now. So it
Yeah.
is not what you do that makes you who you are, is who you become through the process and who you choose to be every single day. So that's why, like, you have your role really clear of what you need to do
Hmm.
for yourself to be good, which is to be at service of others, right? Which is like a great thing that I think most men don't understand. I heard the other day something that I think you're gonna agree with me specifically because of what you said. It was in this podcast, right? And I think it was Lewis Holmes or some of these beat podcast guys. And the other guy, I don't know if he's just saying it was like a country with a hat, old dude with a long beard that become kind of like popular in social media. You probably have seen
I don't
him,
know.
like old dude that's smoking
Yeah, I would say
sometimes.
I've probably seen him, but yeah.
He was asked, right? Like whenever you ask a man how's everything going, he's always gonna say it is okay. And you will
Hmm.
never really get to know what's the burdens that a man's carry with himself, right? And the first part of
Hmm.
that, listening to that, took me to that place of course, as men, we go through these processes. Most of the time, we go alone. That's why there's so many mental health issues in men. Suicide rate in men is higher and everything. Sure. But then it clicked on me. And what it clicked on me, and I think you're going to agree with that, is it is an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be a man and be able to carry those burdens. To be consciously the
Fuck yeah, it is.
person that goes out to hunt, that's holding the world, can bring food to the table, can contain, can provide, can protect. It is a privilege to be able to
Hmm.
function and do that role. And I think that's also what's lacking in the conversation, that you have the ability to do that, and it's not just for you because you're part of an ecosystem, right? And there has to be pride
Hmm.
in that. Just like for women, has to be a pride of being feminine, being chaotic, being
Oh yeah.
emotional. There's both men and women are fighting right now their true essence, and what there's some that's why there's so much issue because they don't know where to go. The woman wants to be successful and produce and do all this thing, but it's so afraid of being in touch with his feminine because he thinks that's gonna go away. And the man wants to have this big life experience, connection, and everything, but it's really afraid of being in contact with this feminine essence, feminine energy that's, you know,
Yep.
resisting that. So that's a chaos plus the true nature of what it requires to be both men and women. And I think we got to start redefining what the concept of both are in this era, right? Would you
Yeah, for
say
sure.
that being vulnerable makes you be more of a man or less of a man?
Oh, more, absolutely. Absolutely. Because here's the thing, right? Like the ability to be vulnerable as a man showcases that your ego has dropped, right? Like I'm not too proud and I'm not too cool to tell you that I'm not okay right now, right? And I think because I think the biggest thing is not the biggest thing, but a factor there is like, men crying, right?
Yeah.
Men immediately relate vulnerability to like crying or being soft or being this and that, whereas like wrong, right? Like I think you need to be vulnerable, especially taking into consideration your relationships with your women, right? Like you need to be able to channel both of it, right? You need to be able to be in control of all of that emotion, the vulnerability, the hardness, the softness, the masculine, all of that. You've got to be able to be in control of it, all of it, in my opinion, to be able to say like you're whole, like you are true, you're whole, like you can that because that means you can have a conversation in a vulnerable stance and not be reactive, right? Because most men are very, I used to do it. I used to be reactive as fuck before I realized that being a little bit more vulnerable made me a lot stronger internally. Just like you
Yeah.
said, right? It's all from the inside. And when I realized that being able to not have to internalize it and speak it out loud, it fucking made me feel so much more at peace, right? And because of that, conversations get better, the relationships get stronger, right? You're able to say the thing that you thought you couldn't say, and you can say it with confidence. And to me, being able to speak with confidence and then still walk out the door and go hunt and provide after you were vulnerable, like, that's the definition of being a whole man, being complete, being able to do it all.
Because you're you're not denying essence of you, right? Because at the end of the day,
Right.
both male and female have both energies and essences, and they have a purpose, right? And
Yeah, absolutely.
what I heard the other day makes so much sense, and it's kind of sad in a way. For the male to be able to tap into their vulnerability, there's an unconscious list of requirements that has to go through, so it's accepted. Think about this. They need
Okay.
to have certain level of physical maturity, like being muscular or look manly, be financially
Hmm.
successful, and to be producing, so he can be accepted when he opens and is vulnerable. And when you really think about it, like us in our own process, that's what we did. We build the physique, we're building the finances, we have all the things that as a man you're supposed to have, and now we become vulnerable.
Yeah,
But
it's true. Very true. Yeah, yeah.
but that's kind of messed up because most of the
A little, yeah,
people
a little bit.
are not gonna get there. And like, I'm just saying in a way that it doesn't need to take all those steps, although subconsciously we're doing that.
Hmm.
But it is what it is. And I think that women on the other side, that's what they're doing. They're going and conquering the financial world, the outside world, and everything. So then they tap into the feminine again,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is kind of messed up way to put it and think about it, but it's absolutely true, right? Because and but I think it's only messed up, at least in my opinion, because it like it's semi like brings that little bit of arrogance out again, right? Well, now because now you're the jacked guy,
Yeah.
right? Now you're the jacked successful dude, and it's like on the surface, like yeah, that could be, but then just like you said, yeah, well, it's easy to be vulnerable now because I don't give a fuck. I'm successful. I look great. I got it going on. Like yeah, I can open up on that front now too. No big deal, right? Because at that point, like as messed up as it is, but you're gonna feel like, well, who's gonna say shit to me? What are you gonna say to me? I made it happen. I did all the things. I took the steps. Here I am. Right?
Yeah, it is. It is messed up in a way, but I guess it's part of the own everybody's process in a way. But you never thought about that, huh? It just clicked on you.
Yeah, yeah. I never thought about it ever, dude. No, I never even put that together. You know what it is though? Is because I think at least for me anyways, like I grew up like it was so like being a man was like drinking
Yeah.
beers and like driving a muscle car and like listening to hard rock. Like right like that was being a man. Like fucking smoking cigarettes on the fucking hood of your car with your boy. Like so like I grew up like thinking okay, that's what it is,
Yeah.
right? Because those, like most of those dudes, at least the ones that I were around, like they weren't fucking all muscular and jacked and shit. They were fucking hot rod greaser heads,
Yeah.
fucking getting drunk with cigarettes hanging out of their mouth. So like I'm like, all right, well that apparently that's what it's supposed to be, right? And then but no, I never thought about it like that because I never considered that till I got older, right? Till I started to kind of put it together, but then you just kind of laid it out totally different. I just never cared about that. Like
Yeah.
if I'm being completely honest, like, but I never thought about it in that sense, right? Like I never cared about it because I was like, all right, I need to do this for me. I need to make this happen. I need to make sure that I can take care of this and this is what I want to accomplish here and this and that. And I guess it never clicked to me that like, well, yeah, here's the steps to being a whole piece of a man.
Yeah, it is. It
But
is
it makes sense.
interesting, right? I mean, it just makes sense for
Yeah.
people that might listen to this. Like, all right, you're close to there because that's what I'm seeing the most. And I was just talking to Tad this morning, and he's
Hmm.
going through his own process. And he was saying, like, man, bro, I think I'm called to help people that have past similar than me to come to the other side and connect with spirituality and everything. And I was like, say, well, bro, probably only as someone that looks like you and is spiritual as well can connect with those people because you have the requirements,
Right.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of interesting in that way how something that we thought it was like not okay turns into something positive down the line, right? But I
Yeah.
want to ask
Yeah.
you, going back into this part of your hero's journey of changing, transformation, and everything.
Hmm.
Did you have through this process a voice in the back in your head always that was like, because you said it, you didn't have mentors, and I didn't have many mentors growing up as well. I look up to the role models. But did you, or
Hmm.
didn't you have like this subconscious voice that was like guiding you and was telling you and was like in a way like pointing the right direction? And once you started listening to it, everything started to make sense.
Always. Always. Yeah. It's funny you say that because now that I'm older and now that I'm a lot more in tune with who I am, I've always had it, even at a young age.
Hmm.
I just didn't know what it was, right? So, and I had actually had this conversation earlier with my wife. The one thing that I can say in light to that too is I've always had it, and the vision for me has never changed. Like the vision, the end of this fucking life, the end of this saga, I've always seen it the same. The narration has always been the same. I've always seen the same fucking story, right? Like so yeah, I've always had the voice. I've always known, right? And like now it's to the point where my instincts and my gut, that's all I don't need anything else. About anything ever. Like and I've learned to trust that because it's never excuse me, it's never wrong, like ever. So, but yeah, I've always had that little narrative. Me and my wife talk about that often because you might do this too, but I'll catch myself answering
Yeah.
out loud, and my wife will be like, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" I'm like, "Sorry, narrator," and she's like, "You seriously have that, don't you?" I'm like, "I 100% do, every fucking step of my life." And so even right now, as I have this conversation, like we're talking about what's coming up, and it's like so that whole thing for me, man, like changed my perspective on everything, dude. Like when I realized what that fucking little voice was, right? And what the reason behind that little voice was, that was the voice that was telling me, don't touch that stove,
Yeah.
don't open that door, don't fucking talk to this person, right? And like now, and this, to all you guys listening, if you're deep into this shit, this is awesome. But if you're not, this might get weird on you. But like, I literally, I can tell an evil person the
Yeah.
first time I look in their eyes immediately. Like it's fucking so easy now, right? Because of that, because I've got this like, nope, stay away from that, stay away from that, don't look at that, watch that, right? And like those patterns now are very, very noticeable, just because I've kind of recognized it and tuned into it for so long now, and honestly, a lot of this credit has to go to my wife, if I'm being completely honest, because before I really tapped into mentoring people and helping people, I never used this part of it, right? I never used the spiritual side. I
Yeah.
never understood it properly, right? And I was one of those guys that was like, nah, man, okay, maybe, right? And I started mentoring and I started implementing it. I
Hmm.
started listening to my wife, paying attention to it, right? And like learning into the zodiac and learning into the stars and learning into all of this shit, and I started implementing more of it, and I was like, holy shit, there's something here to this. And then when you go full circle, and as you understand now, like when you go full circle there, you realize, oh, okay, the narrator tells me the story so I can meet the person. I meet the person so that I can do the thing, and
Hmm.
then I do the thing so I can get to the other play, right? And it all comes together, every single part of it, right? And so for me, the narrator, yeah, dude, the narrator is never changed. It's always been there, and the vision's always been the same. If I had a if I could paint, I could literally fucking paint it to a T. I've seen it 100 million times in my life. It's crazy. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah, I think for me, it just keeps like revealing itself. And I think it has its purpose because if you were to see the final destination for what it is completely, probably you'll kind of like lose a little bit of excitement about what life is.
Hmm.
And a lot of the times, I think, if not most of the times, you what you really struggle with is fighting the idea that you were given by society or your family of what was good and, and who you were supposed to become versus what God or the universe kind of has for you. Because
Yeah.
as you walk and start tapping into those God feelings or listening to that voice, life becomes really interesting because you're tapping into being who you truly are, and there is not a higher frequency or vibration that being authentic. Authenticity is the highest form of frequency and vibration, and that's the only way that you can really start attracting and manifesting the things in your life. So when you come to peace of who you are from your light, your shadow, and start listening to that voice and walking, things start to make sense, right? So for me, for
Hmm.
example, last year when it was like New Year's resolution and everything, because last year was such a big quantum jump and you were like part of that process and you kind of seen my journey. I was like,
Hmm.
I'm not even gonna put a tap or a cap in this year. Just show me. Let's go all in and let's just like really manifest it and experience it. Because I've come to realize that we are truly the ones that slow down the process.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
the number one reason why most people slow down the process or don't get the things that they want is because of the answer of this question that I've asked a couple of clients. Like, if you were to be given tomorrow everything that you want, what do you think will happen? And they go into panic. Like, well, wait, what? Like tomorrow I'll have everything, and I don't need to want to need to anything, and like everything's there. Like and, like that's why you don't get the things because you're
Yeah.
in panic of having everything and not needing to have something, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I
Yeah.
am, and just like going more into that, like I put a lot of my faith out there, not because I need to be seen as this enlightened being, because I'm truly trying to inspire people into connecting to that, because that's the only thing that at the end of the day works for me. Your relationship with God,
Yeah.
however that looks, the universe, whatever it is what really brings fulfillment. And I think that's what really brought me really close to you last time that we talked, because you were in that process of like connecting and learning more into that. And I think you'll understand, especially when you're mentoring, you're just being a vessel of something else to help someone else's life.
Yeah. Just a messenger.
And most of the times, what you're saying, you don't even understand it, know it, or know why you're saying it, but it just comes out of your mouth.
Just comes out. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Some days it's like that for sure. But
So,
I think good.
no, I'm listening to you.
So yeah, so no, and it, you know what the crazier part is with all of that too is I used to think I used to be the guy, this is a long time ago, but I used to be the guy that was like those guys are crazy, right? Like, and now I'm one of them. And I know, right? I know I'm not crazy by any means. I'm 100% exactly who the fuck I am,
Yeah.
right? And it's not crazy at all to me now, right? But like, I remember that, man. I have a buddy of mine. His name is Jeremy, and Jeremy learned this much earlier than me.
Mm.
Jeremy was a friend of mine long time ago. We were roommates when we were younger. I lived in his house, and but he tapped into this years and years before I did, and I always like kind of gave him a little bit of pushback, you know, nothing bad, but I was like,
Yeah.
but I loved him, you know, and the shit that he said, I was intelligent enough to be like, okay, all right, that could make sense, okay, right? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't sound that fucking crazy. I guess it could make sense, and And as years went on, and I started to learn more of the process and figure more of it out and understand all of the signs and why I felt the way I felt and all of that, like, I just remember like he would chime in every now and then and text me and be like, "How you doing?"
Yeah.
I'd be like, "It's just kind of some crazy shit, man. Like I'm doing okay, but this is wild." And he's like, "It'll get easier, you know." He's like, just know that that's a good thing and you're on the right path and you're absolutely being called to do what you're supposed to be doing. And dude, and that was right around the time, when I started really, really getting into this. And it's helped so many fucking people, man. And I can't, like you said earlier, I can't deny it. I can't pretend to not know about it, or I can't not talk about it. Like, like there's a reason that my content is the way it is and the deep shit that I talk about when I do, because it's important, and even if only one fucking person gets anything out of it, that was the person that needed to hear it in that fucking moment, and that's who I was supposed to talk to, and I know that.
I think for me, when it really, when I got that big calling about like starting to be open about it was after the first mastermind. Because I went back to
Okay.
Texas and I was so high into my frequency and everything that we experienced and like full of dreams and let's move to California. And I was in the supermarket and I got the call and it was like, well, you're talking about everything, but what has really changed your life? You're not talking about it. And when I heard that,
Yeah.
I just like I felt like chills. I was like, yeah, I'm pushing all this content, doing all these videos about personal development and everything, but the truth is that through that year when I was going through my awakening and my process, I don't know half the stuff that was going on. I just felt it. And it was that building that
You're just
relationship
flowing.
with God. And sometimes I remember I'll be walking outside doing my process and I'll start going into like I'll have a breakdown. I'll start like crying out of nowhere. I didn't know what was going on, but I just knew something released and moved.
Hmm.
So that's when I start like tapping into more into it and sharing about like my faith and what I believe and everything. And along the process, I think that everybody wants to get a deeper understanding about life, God, the universe, and everything, and they don't have a problem with God. They have a problem with religion and
Oh yeah,
what it
100%.
means. And I think that people are smart enough to understand what's been done wrong, and they don't know they can't
Hmm.
trust something 100%. And even when you have a little bit more of awareness, and this is what I found like in the last weeks of the year too, the ego's last tool and weapon when you're walking in your faith or building your faith is to make you question the little things and just to be waiting for what's wrong or where's the thing that's gonna deny its authenticity, right? Because
Hmm.
like pretty much you probably heard it like the regular conversation or argument is well the Bible was modified and this person did and this and like I was going into those things and trying to understand like deeper truths and everything. Until one point, I just had like the last weeks like a massive need to like feel that connection again. And I said like, who gives a fuck if it was modified? Who gives a fuck if these people in the past did it? It is my relationship with God,
Yep.
mine. It is what I
Yeah.
feel. It is what it makes sense to me, and it's a relationship for a reason. It's what I'm building. So whatever makes sense for me is
Yeah.
gonna make sense for me, and I'm just gonna walk into that. And I found so much
Yeah.
relief into that. But I've seen that like the skepticism, or how I said, like is that little thing
Hmm.
at the end that doesn't allow you to tap fully into your faith.
Yeah. No, and I've gotten to this point where, obviously, and you hit it on the head with the religion thing, right? It's believe in what you want to believe in, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever your God is, whatever that faith has to be, whatever that system is that you need to believe in, like you'll figure it out eventually down the road, right? But for right now, whatever that is, believe in that, right? And just like you said, who gives a fuck if it's modified, right? Like so for me, my thing has been for some years now is I have a true, genuine belief that like I am my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am him, he is me, I am all, we are one, right? And the more I tap into that, the more that instinctual control comes out, that fear dissipates, right? And so I think that's another, and that's an even deeper subject as to when you get to the point where you realize that it's not just what you believe in your creator and your faith, it's that you understand that you are that.
Yeah.
That is you, right? Like this is the one, your brain, like that's your God. You are your God. It is in your control to do everything that you were supposed to do while you're here, right? And so that right there really has kept me open to all kinds of belief systems, right? Like, because I truly believe too that obviously everybody's walk is different, right? The path is not aligned the same as for everybody. It's all, everybody's path is different. Everybody's journey takes different turns and
Yeah.
different steps and ups and downs. And so if you believe, if you want to tell me that the fucking plant in the front of your yard is the guy that you pray to and it's changed your life, well, guess what? There's probably some kind of weird ass fucking connection there, but I'm not going to say you're crazy. I'm not going to deny you of it because I know better, right? And so like that's how in the whole connection with God and all of that, like I've gotten to the point where I've very much internalized that connection to just myself, right? And so when I have these conversations, yes, I'm speaking to the universe, to the air, to the existence, but I'm also speaking directly to me,
Yeah.
like inside, right? Whatever I want, whatever I need, whatever I'm working on, whatever the conversation is. And I get to and I'm one of the guys that I'm at the point where like fucking I'll be standing in a room by myself and just talk like, okay, I get it. Fucking can we move on from this? I've learned this one, let's move. Right? Like I do that shit often because I find that when you're in tune like that internally
Yeah.
and you're connected like that, oh man, you move different. Big time.
I think the biggest thing to master is being able to shut down and just listen. I think the problem with a lot of people is the relationship with God is a needy relationship of I want things right now and why are things
Hmm.
not happening, and the dialogue is one direction, and they
Yeah.
haven't learned the ability to quiet and listen. So
And that's why people pray in a time of need, right? Like because just like you said, it's not they're not listening, they're not they only it's I need right now. I need this right now. I need you right now. I need this right now. Like well you there's a lot more to that, right? But sorry, continue. But yeah.
yeah, like when it really changed for me was two things. One, when I realized it was like a begging relationship, like I need this, I want this, which is like a victim relationship in a way, because you're my mentor says that, right? Like first you're a victim of your parents, then you're a victim of your society, then you start in the spirituality and you become a victim of God and the universe, because if it's not aligned, it's something wrong with the universe. Which at the end, what you said, like you're one with everything. So what's really wrong is you.
It's you. Yeah, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I started like inviting God into my processes, into my businesses, asking Him to be at use, to be in every thought, in every word, in every step. And that practice of being able to be in silence and like, all right, what do you want me to understand out of this? What is it that I'm not seeing? And you just stay quiet and you understand it. Most of the time when it's really difficult, the answer becomes I'm building you because I need you for something bigger, and I need you to be able to handle
Yeah.
this so that you can hold other people. But it is a skill to be
Hmm.
able to shut that part down and start like listening to the message, right?
Yeah,
And I think as
definitely.
as that goes, you build more confidence. And I don't know if this has happened to you, but sometimes you kind of look back into when you didn't have that relationship and you're like, it's kind of blank. It's like how? Because you realize it's always been
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
last
Yeah,
time
but
last
I
time we
think you
sorry.
just, we preoccupy ourselves.
Yeah. Last time we spoke, you talked me about you wanted to be more involved into public speaking and having a bigger impact and everything. Where do you want to start truly going as a person into these next steps of your life with your faith, your spirituality, and everything? What is your calling? Because I know you got your calling now. What is that calling specifically? Where you see directing that part?
So yeah, I for me it is public speaking. It is big ceremony. It is maybe not television, but something along those lines. I've always had, especially once I kind of figured it out,
Hmm.
I've always had a very, very, very good ability to be able to capture the moment with people.
Hmm.
And so I think for me, the ultimate goal and the end game is, the public speak. But on the side of, I don't necessarily want to call myself a healer because I don't think I'm a healer. I think I am a messenger. I'm not a healer.
Hmm.
But my job and my purpose here, and ultimately, I want to be able to take as many people as I possibly can and pull them out of whatever it is, right? And for me to do that, I need to be on much bigger platforms, so, and I want to utilize the platforms and the public speaking and the connections that I can make to be able to put that message out on a bigger level, right? To be able to touch thousands more fucking lives. And for me, I don't necessarily, I'm not is concerned with like a community build
Yeah.
type deal. I want to be I want to be the face of something that changes the world. Like that's the end game for me is that. And people can say whatever the fuck they want and it is what it is. I don't give a fuck. Like I don't give a fuck about the money. I don't give a fuck about the fame or the glorification. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I could do this shit without one camera. If I could make it happen, I wouldn't fucking care about a camera.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to be on big enough platforms and not necessarily even stages, but just arenas of people that I can fucking help, like in any way, shape, or form that I know how. Right. And if that means that you need to get in touch with this side of your life, then it does. If it means you need to overcome this thing that happened to you and I can help you do that, then that's what it is. I've always just wanted people to win, and now I have the opportunity to help them, and that's all that fucking matters to me, right? Like because I know what it's like to lose, and I've lost a lot, and going through all the things that I went through, everything, all the narration, every voice in my head, everything that I've done, every step I've taken up to this point to get to where I am now. Every day I wake up and the fucking answer is the same. Like you are here to help people. You are here to guide. You are here to be a messenger. You are here to step in the line when people go the wrong way. You are here to steer them the other way. Like, and it's never changed. And so I just want to be able to do that on a massive, massive platform, whatever that looks like. So details, I don't know. But I know it. I know it. I know it is supposed to happen. I just don't know how it's gonna happen yet. But I'm
Um,
gonna make it happen.
you're not supposed to know the how.
No, I never have, right? Like, but when the opportunity, when that person
Yeah.
steps in front of my face, I'll know exactly who that motherfucker is. So
But I'm gonna have to contradict you for a second,
that's okay.
because you said you're not a healer, and you are, because it is not what you do for people or what you say to people, is who you are as a person that allows those others to heal. The word, the message is the medicine for that person. So you as a person, you are a source of healing, creation, empowerment, growth. So just you are,
Yeah, I guess I never looked at it in that light.
yeah. Just so you tap into it, because it is that you're who you are as a person, and everything that carries within you, your energy, it's what really helps, because what really happens is an energy transfer through the message. We're downloading the
Hmm.
messages and everything, but it's how we make other people feel when we talk about it, which means who you are as a person is what's really creating the impact in the other one. So it is always you. The dialogue, the movements, and everything is just what we really do in this reality, this dimension.
Yeah,
But what's
yeah.
really happening is that movement of soul to soul that's getting recognized and uplifted, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Now, when you say it like that, it does make perfect sense because that is like I'm an energy reader big time when it comes to that, man. I can read the room. I can feel if you're, I'm very empathic in that light for sure. But I guess I never tied it over to the actual healing side of it. But did that the message is the medicine? Did you make that up?
I'm just flowing right
You
now,
better
brother.
fucking, dude. You better coin that. That shit was good as hell. I love that.
You know that happens
The
to me so
message is
many
the
times.
medicine.
I'm
You
like,
heard it here first, people. Don't be
yeah,
bullshitting.
yeah, yeah. Don't like you gotta tag me at least on that.
Yeah, holy, that's good. The message is the medicine, man. I love that, man. No, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
like that. And I think, maybe that's a part of the humbleness too for me. I still think there is truly a part of me. I know there is. There's not even a thought about it. There's still a big part of me that some days it's hard to say it that out loud. Some days it's hard for me to still say like, no, I heal people and I help and this is what I do. Like, so and that's my own kind of. I got to walk through that a little bit, but like if I'm being completely honest, that's definitely probably why I don't feel that 100% yet because I'm still kind of waking up some days and going, no, you are okay, just double checking, so I think that's just something I got to push through, man. But no, I think you're right. I agree with you. I love that. Thank you. That's ultimately what I
Yeah.
want to do, because just like you said, that's part of the process. If somebody hears it and it fucking helps them, absolutely, man. That is healing. You're right.
Yeah. I think that the truth, because I completely understand you, we spend a lot of time ourselves trying to fix ourselves and fixing the things that go in our head because we have those polarities. As much as we're really good and can help, there's a dark side of us that we constantly need to be working on to contain it, like remove it, or that's why the
Yeah.
first hour of my day really goes into that, and then you tap into the other things.
Yeah.
So before we go, I would like you to deliver that medicine and that message for those people that might get to listen. If you were to give someone that unique piece of advice that you can only give of how to go from the lowest point of their life, however that looks, whether it was right now, in the past, whatever they're going on, into tapping, not into success financially, those achievements, because we don't really care about that, into tapping into their true essence, fulfillment, and peace. What would you say to those people specifically?
I was, so we'll start it off like this. The hardest part of the journey is the time when we fall and we feel like we can't get back up, right? And one of the biggest things that helped me kind of continue to push through was the fact that every time I opened my eyes, no matter how many times I tried to keep them closed, every time I opened my eyes, it was because I wasn't finished. I had a purpose. There was a reason for me to be here, even before it was great, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it was the worst, and the days after I was recovering, and the days when I fucking didn't want to get out of bed, but I had to because I had to be a father, and the days when I fucking didn't want to go to work, but I had to because my babies had to eat, and I felt like shit, and I wanted to call it quits, and I wanted to throw in the towel and just go fucking run across the highway. I always remembered, you woke up again. You you weren't supposed to be here, right? And that's the biggest thing I think that anybody that's at their lowest point has contemplated that move. Do I want to be here anymore? And if you've went through that and you've had that thought and you've woke up the next morning and you continue to live, you're not done, and you know it. And there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
So continue to wake up, continue to know that you have a purpose. And as long as you know you have a purpose and there's a reason you woke up to breathe every day will get a little bit better. And it's going to take a lot of time. A lot of time. A lot of time. I'm going on 12 years of working hard at this. Hard as fuck. And every single day that I wake up, it's still hard some days. But I wake up and I know I'm not done yet. I got a purpose. There's a reason I'm here. And then I go speak my message. And then that message maybe hits one person. Maybe it hits 10 people. But if it only hits that one person, I know that that person is going to walk away thinking, you know what? I'm not done yet. One more day. One more day. So keep your head up, guys. Stay one more day. Because you got a purpose. You're still here for a reason. Figure it out.
The path to heaven most of the time is gonna feel like going to hell, and the path to going to
It's the
hell
hardest
most
one.
of the time feels like going to heaven. So it is
100%.
okay.
100%.
Amazing, brother. Well, thanks so much for coming up. I'm really looking forward to seeing
Thanks
you
for having me.
soon here
Yeah,
and
absolutely,
connect
man.
more. I think that God always puts the right people in your life for a reason, and I know that at some point we're probably gonna keep doing stuff together based on the
Oh,
purpose
yeah.
given, and I
Oh, yeah.
love that. So
Oh, yeah. Paths in line for a specific reason. Absolutely, man. This was a pleasure.
amazing, brother. Well, thanks so much.
Hell yeah.
Have a great one, brother. I think stop now. Awesome. That was good.